This is a great question, and absolutely the second house plays a role in this. So let's talk about how these three houses of the birth chart are interacting. We already talked about the 10th house a little bit. The cusp of the 10th house is the midheaven in Placidus. We talked about the 6th house of the birth chart. The second house forms a grand trine with these two other houses. In modern astrology, a system called 12-letter alphabet, where each of the houses is associated with one of the 12 zodiac signs, the second house, 6th house, and 10th house are all associated with earth signs. They form an earth grand trine. So we've talked about the 10th house, which is associated with success in career and public reputation, how you are known publicly, the legacy that you leave behind as a result of what you've built throughout this lifetime. The 10th house is connected to Capricorn, which is the sign that rules over our professional life and career, our long-term goals, and the plans that we have in place to achieve those long-term goals in order to build something that will last long after we die. We talked about the 6th house, which is where all of the work and grind actually happens. This is the house associated with our day jobs and our routines. It's known as the house of service or the house of employment. The 6th house is connected to Virgo in 12-letter alphabet, and Virgo is the sign that rules our daily routines, our day job, our monotonous busy work, and acts of service or labor. The second house of the birth chart represents our physical belongings, our possessions, our material resources, everything including food, water, shelter, and money. It's associated with Taurus in the 12-letter alphabet, and Taurus is the sign that rules our physical possessions, our money, our resources, our material resources as an earth sign. In this grand trine of success, the 6th house is where all of the hard work and labor happens, and that labor is turning the raw material resources of the second house into the final product that's represented in the 10th house. So for example, let's say we want to build a house. The house itself is the final product. That is the long-term goal that we are working towards. The second house is where our raw material resources fall. That would be the wood, the cement, the bricks, the copper used to make the pipes. All of those raw material resources fall in the second house. The 6th house is where all of the hard work happens, where these raw material resources and money that's being invested are transformed through labor into the final product. So the second house is the raw resources, the 6th house is the labor of building the house, and the 10th house is the final product, success and achieving the goal and having a house built. So once that house is completed and the long-term goal of building a house is achieved, the final product is complete, that final product then moves into the second house and becomes a resource, a material, physical possession that provides you with your basic survival needs. It is a shelter. That shelter, that physical possession, then becomes a resource used to further achieve new long-term goals. Whether you're using that shelter, that asset, explicitly to fulfill your basic survival needs of having a safe place to go and protect you from weather and the external environment, or if you use that asset to leverage your position and advance your long-term and professional goals. So for example, my uncle had a friend who was an attorney, and he had a very big, beautiful mansion built. He did not need this mansion. He did not use this mansion to live in. He leveraged this mansion as an asset to impress potential clients. So what he did was he took the resource of this big, beautiful home, processed it through labor of hosting events and hospitality, serving people within this home in order to secure more high-paying clients and advance himself professionally. So this is just one example that I think is really clear that shows how these three houses in the birth chart that are associated with earth signs can be used to further your success. Let's use another example of this cycle of success and using success as a resource. Let's say you are a musician and you want to create a song. Your final product is that song. The second house, the raw materials, the physical possessions used to create that song might include a microphone, a recording console, a computer, and software that allows you to produce music. The actual production of the song, using those material resources to create something, happens in the 6th house. The final completed song is represented in the 10th house, success and achieving your long-term goal and creation of a final product. Once that song is completed, The final product moves into the second house and becomes an asset, a possession that you own. Now, let's say, as a musician who has a song or a catalog of songs, the next long term goal might be to get that song placed in a film or a television show in order to improve the reputation of the song and increase its visibility. The 10th house represents public visibility. Now, this asset or this song, these catalog of songs, are leveraged in the sixth house through labor and administrative work. The sixth house is connected to Virgo, which talks about boring, monotonous work, paperwork, administrative duties, the boring things that have to get done in order for you to succeed. So, the leveraging of these songs in the sixth house might look like creating a database or a catalog of copyrights that you want to license to filmmakers. It could represent sending those songs to music supervisors in professional communications in hopes that those music supervisors choose your song to be put into a film. When a filmmaker decides they'd like to put your song in their movie, there is paperwork that needs to be done. There are licenses and contracts that need to be written out, and all of that work happens in the sixth house. Once that administrative work is complete, your song is then put into a movie. Your long term goal is achieved, and your asset has been leveraged into a place of public visibility, improving reputation for you as a musician. And again, this cycle of success continues where the long term goal of having your song put into a movie moves into the second house and becomes an asset for you. Having your song placed in a movie could result in you receiving royalty checks, payments, raw material resources as a result of your success. And so this success cycle continues through the second, sixth, and 10th house of the birth chart. I'm so glad that you asked this question. Thank you for asking this. I hope this gives a new perspective on how the success cycle works with astrology.